And now let's meet the candidates. Fred Thompson, former senator from Tennessee.
And first of all, I need to defend Rudy a little bit on his tax plan because it looks an awful lot like the one I put out a couple of months ago. The government never loses as much revenue as the experts say they're going to. With the 01 and 03 tax cuts in place, we received more revenue into the government in one day in April of this year than ever before in the history of the country. So much for the experts as far as that's concerned. It does stimulate growth and is overall beneficial for the economy. Unemployment is up to 5%. That used to be considered full employment, but we're going in the wrong direction with regard to that. It's not just the subprime market now. It's poured over into the general housing market. Credit is scarce. It's affected the consumer credit market in general. If you're talking about automobile loans or you're talking about credit card fees or anything like that, the money is getting tighter and tighter. We still have a bunch of two-handed economists in Washington. On the one hand, we may go into recession. On the other hand, we may not. Nobody knows. But I think that as we proceed, we need to count on the Fed doing the right thing in terms of the interest rates, and we need to look seriously at whether or not we should do things such as speed up depreciation schedules for businesses, those that create jobs, have deduction for capital expenses instead of having to capitalize them, things of that nature. We had a stimulus package back in 01. It's targeted toward the lower income people. I think that has to be considered somewhere along the line if the economy calls for it. Not today, but perhaps a little later on. But we have to keep in mind a great many lower income people don't pay income taxes to start with. So an income tax rebate like we've tried before would not work. We would all be a lot better off if people knew that these tax cuts of 01 and 03 were not going to expire at the end of 2010, which they're scheduled to do. You asked a minute and a half question of these gentlemen on the Reagan Revolution. Could I address that?
Sure.
It's an important issue because I think it demonstrates what we're about here today. I think that Governor Huckabee's campaign manager said it accurately in terms of what they believe. They believe that it is over. This is a battle for the heart and soul of the Republican Party and its future. On the one hand, you have the Reagan Revolution. You have the Reagan coalition of limited government and strong national security. On the other hand, you have the direction that Governor Huckabee would take us in. He would be a Christian leader, but he would also bring about liberal economic policies, liberal foreign policies. He believes we have an arrogant foreign policy and the tradition of blame America first. He believes that Guantanamo should be closed down and those enemy combatants brought here to the United States to find their way into the court system eventually. He believes in taxpayer-funded programs for illegals, as he did in Arkansas. He has the endorsement of the National Education Association. And the NEA said it was because of his opposition to vouchers. He said he would sign a bill that banned smoking nationwide. So much for federalism, so much for states' rights, so much for individual rights. That's not the model of the Reagan coalition. That's the model of the Democratic Party.
Governor Huckabee, you got the...
You can't take the judgment like that out of the hands of the officers on the ground there. I think one more step, and they would have been introduced to those versions that they're looking forward to seeing. Iran was clearly testing us. They took British hostages under similar circumstances. It proceeded, obviously, much past what happened to us. But they're testing our resolve. They know that they're dealing with a nation that's not going to put up with that sort of thing. But it's some insight as to the way they're thinking. I think the Revolutionary Guard now has taken over from the regular military force with regard to those speedboats and so forth. So they're going to get a little bit more frisky. But they need to understand that if they cross the line, they're going to be destroyed.